Hello YouTube! Today in the Naughty Librarian I am doing my mid-August wrap-up. So far this August I have read 7 books, doing the most, and I think the basic theme for all of the books I've read is just angst. So many angsty books, all of them are so angsty. But anyway, let's get into all of the angsty goodness and start reviewing some books. So first things first, I just want to put up a little reminder. This coming Saturday, the 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I am going to be premiering my next episode of Drunk Classics, which is on Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. A brief review, just to whet everybody's appetite, is that, you know, it's fun. It's got pirates and stuff, but like, is it like great? Basically, it's like cartoony pirates, you know what I mean? Well, I guess at this time period when it was written, like, they weren't cartoon, like, caricatures of pirates, or maybe they were. But anyway, all like the caricature, cartoony pirate things, you know, like a peg leg and a parrot on your shoulder, it's all from this book. How are these cartoons come to life? Like, I was like a little getting into my feelings about it, but then I was like, you know what this book could use? Muppets. So I'm really into Muppet Treasure Island right now. I just want to go watch that so much. First category is Saving the World, but Through Angst, and I read 2 of them. I read She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, and basically this is like a queer reimagining of Mulan, and already I was like, say no more, I'm already into it. And you know, I went on a journey with this book. For like a lot of the middle doldrums, I was really slogging to get through this book. Like, it really just loses a lot of momentum for quite some time. But the very beginning of the book is quite good, and then the very ending of the book, when things start going, ramping up and getting crazy, very good. So it's like this weird middle part that's just really a chore to get through. We're following this young girl. I don't think we ever find out what her name is, but basically she has to find a way to survive. I think that's like her whole character motivation, is that she has this really, really strong survival instinct. And it's so strong that it kind of becomes like a Machiavellian struggle. By this I mean, like, she needs to survive, and she will do whatever it takes by whatever means necessary to survive and come out on top. So she's kind of, it's just like something in her brain that's not ever going to change because of how she was as a child. It's like a trauma that's in there that I think is affecting her whole personality forever. So like the writing and like the characterization right there is great. But anyway, she's this little girl and she's starving all the time, and her dad and her brother die, so she's like, I have to go find somewhere to live and eat, otherwise I'm gonna die too. And so she accomplishes this by going to, you know, this monastery, this monk monastery. The temple. I can't remember the name right now. But she basically impersonates her brother Shu and becomes like a monk at this temple. So she has been impersonating a man for so long that her gender identity is kind of skewed toward being male, but also female at the same time. There's a lot of gender identity questions going on here. So it's kind of Shu's story, as well as the other side of the conflict. You know, this is like China versus the Mongolians, and they're fighting for like who's gonna be the emperor and stuff. And I mean, like honestly, this has more historical value than what I've just said. It's kind of like, you know, the Ming Dynasty and all that. But, you know, we're not really trying to get into a deep history lesson right now. So we're kind of following different characters on both sides and like their internal struggles and like what are they doing in the face of like horrible violence. And like I said, the beginning of this book is really, really good, and the end of this book is really, really good. It's that middle doldrum, which has a lot of like interesting character dynamics. It's just that so little is going on plot-wise that it's kind of a slog to get through. So in the end, I gave it like 4 stars. I had to take a star off because of that middle doldrum, which is just a lot to deal with. But like some of the character work here is really top-notch fantastic. So I recommend. It's pretty good. I also read Grace and Glory by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the finale to the Harbinger series. This series is a spin-off of her Dark Element series, and mind you, this is like book 6 in this world, so a lot has happened. I'm just gonna give you a brief overview here. Basically, demons are real, and so are gargoyles, and gargoyles are like descended from angels and they hunt demons. And they're angsty and they all have really great hair and they do it. But anyway, here we are, Grace and Glory. This is the big finale of the spin-off series. And, you know, the world is in peril. There's demons afoot and they have to stop them. And, you know, also it's a big romance and everything. And honestly, this one became... I don't even know, unctuous, I think is the right word. There's not really a better word for it than that. It was just like so much all the time that it was like sickly sweet. Not that it was necessarily a sweet book, but it was just like, it was too much of everything all the time. And don't get me wrong, I went into this book fully expecting, you know, extra. It's very angsty and like, it was just kind of a way to biff the ending, you know what I mean? Like, all of these other books had so much like drama and tension, and I was expecting a whole lot, and in this book the tension is kind of just not there, even though it's the big finale and they're gonna have the big showdown, you know what I mean? It's not plotted well, so it never really develops that sense of tension where you're just like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna do it finally? Are they finally gonna do it? And you just want them to do it so bad. But this book, they're just like, no, we're doing it all the time. So it's like the tension's gone. It's just like, you could at least like have some obstacles. It's not too explicit because technically this is new adult, but like, you know, I missed the tension I was getting in all those other books. So it's kind of like a biffed ending to the series. It's not, it didn't give me that punch I needed at the end. It's just kind of like almost sickly sweet. It's always just like, I'm desperately in love with you, blah. And it's just, it's too much. But, you know, it's fine. I like the whole rest of the series. It's this one just wasn't really cutting it, but it's okay. Like 3 stars, it's fine. Next category is Smutty Angst, and I read one of them. I read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, and this one is a great summer rom-com, although lots of angst. This one is kind of like Schitt's Creek a little bit, you know the show Schitt's Creek, where there's a young woman named Piper. She's kind of like a Los Angeles socialite, party, Instagram model type of thing, and she gets into trouble, and her dad's like, hey, you're gonna go to this small fishing town in Washington, and that's where you're going to live during the summer, la la la, you know, punishment. And she's like, fine, and she goes there, and you know, she's so effervescent that obviously everyone just loves her. That is, everyone loves her except for a very grumpy sea captain named Brandon, and of course, you know, they're gonna fall in love. And Brendan's got a lot of angst. He's a widow and has a lot of guilt and is trying to, you know, move past widowhood. So he has his own problems he needs to work through. Alexis has a lot of self-esteem issues, so there's angst right there, and it's in the relationship as well. And also they just bang the bejesus out of each other. Like, oh my word. Like, sometimes I'm just like, really? Like, now is not the time or the place to be pulling your penis out, sir. But, like, they do it anyway. So, you know, if you want something that's delightfully smutty, also funny, and, you know, a summer romp, like, this will be a great time. It's gonna be a me time book, you know? You have a glass of wine, you sit on the couch, you get comfy, and you just dig in, you know? It's like a wine and relax book. I gave it like 4 stars because it was very good for what it is. It's like a nice, fun, me time summer rom-com. And there's lots of smut. Next category is historical angst, and I read 2 of them. I finally read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't know why it took me this long to read it. I just hadn't done it. Oh my gosh, you know, it's amazing. Taylor Jenkins Reid is a genius. Like, oh my gosh, auto by author forever. All of her books are consistently incredible. It's like astounding how good they are. So Daisy Jones is kind of set up as like a documentary book, if that makes sense. It's all set up as like an interview. So these people from the band, you know, Daisy Jones and the Six, a very influential rock band from the late 70s, who have broken up and never spoke to each other again since the final show in like 1979. And so all of these like band members are getting interviewed about the rise and fall of this band And, you know, they all have different versions of their own history. And the interpersonal relationships working here are just like so complex and so nuanced and subtle, and like it's just the characterization is so great. And like there's a deep well of like, you know, angst because you're just desperately in love with someone who doesn't love you back. Like that's kind of the heart of, or the heartbreak of this book. But like there's kind of like a little hopeful ending, I guess. But it's really, really good. Oh my gosh. It's just, it's so, chef's kiss. Amazing. I'm going to give it 4.99 stars. Not 5. I have to take one, I have to take like a small bit off because the documentary style of this book, the interview style, I feel undercuts a lot of the tension in the book. So is the book good on its own? Yes, this is incredible. Oh my gosh, the story is amazing. But the way it's being told isn't necessarily helping the book. So yeah, I think it's just like a story, how she chose to tell the story is kind of weakens the story a bit. But not to say that I didn't freaking adore this. It's so good. So, you know, it's fine. I recommend the audiobook because it has a full cast. So it's like you're hearing all the different members of the band and they all have a different voice. So it's kind of like, it's more interactive. I wish I could hear the songs because they write so many songs in this thing. And I was like, I wish they just had a CD so I can hear the music because it's so cool. Just read it. It's great. It's really good. I also read The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And I went on a journey with this book. Here's the deal. I had it from the library and I started it and I was like, oh, like, I like this. Okay, I'm gonna buy the book. I really like it. And then as soon as I bought the book and I had read a little bit further, I was like, oh no. I wish I didn't buy the book because all of a sudden I stopped liking it. I know. What? Such a switcheroo. Like it starts off strong and I thought it was gonna go to a lot of different places that it just never went to. It's kind of like a Belle Epoque era, but this is like fictional France, so there's no, I don't think it's called France here, but it's France. And it's kind of dealing with like high society and the ton, and also people just have telekinesis. Already I was like, okay, you had me at telekinesis, tell me no more, I want to read this. And like, they do nothing with that. Like, sorry, I'll get back to what the story's about in a second, but like, they have this whole thing where characters have telekinesis, right? So you're like, okay, that seems like a big change in reality. I feel like the story is going to deal with this and like have it be a main part of the, you know, central arc of the story. And honestly, it has no purpose. People just have telekinesis and they do nothing with it in the whole book. It's just like, these people could have just been magicians. They could have just been really good at card tricks, and honestly, it would have read the same. There's no point to having telekinesis. It's never gone into, it's never used properly or like as a plot device. It's just fucking there. It's like, why put it in if you're not gonna do anything with it? But I digress. This is kind of about high society, and you know, everybody in this book needs professional help. They're all like a mess, and it's kind of like a love triangle. There's this man, he's a performer, he has telekinesis, his name's Hector, and there is, you know, kind of a young girl who also has telekinesis, stars in her eyes, very like spirited, and I don't know, she's too much, but like in a good way. Basically, she's just like, you know what, if I am too much, then you should go find less because I'm great. And I can like fuck with that. Like, I like Antonina, she's really cool. And, you know, they're kind of having like love, and the thing is, Hector came back because he was in love with this woman, Valerie, like 10 years ago, and they like lost each other. And Valerie is married to Antonina's cousin. So now it's like a big love triangle. But here's the thing, Valerie is a horrible human being and I hate her. I mean, if the purpose of the book was to hate Valerie, then they have succeeded. Like, honestly, okay, I'm sorry I'm ranting, but like, you know how I hate Anna Karenina? That's how I feel about Valerie. The same way I feel about Anna Karenina. I fucking hate her. Like, I have some sympathy for you. Like, I get it. You didn't want to go into this marriage. You were forced into this marriage to this guy you don't like. And, like, all of that just, like, makes you more and more bitter every day. And you're just like, oh, like, I hate this guy. Like, I get it. But it's not like they married you off to, like, a fucking ogre. Like, this guy, he has a lot of money. All he does is dotes on you all day. He's really kind to his family. He tries to include you in everything. Like, he's really trying a lot. And you just can't get over your fucking self because you're a brat. And I hate her. So, yeah, I spent a lot of this book just, like, grinding my teeth and hating this character. Thank goodness she wasn't the main character. I think it's Antonina because there's multiple perspectives changes throughout the book, but it's mainly Antonina's story. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this was Valerie's story the whole time, I would have just thrown this book out the damn window. Like, I could not deal. Oh my word. So it starts off like kind of cool. It's like, ooh, love triangle, ooh, telekinesis. Like, what's gonna happen? And then like just nothing happens, and it's just like boring, so boring. And I'm like really regretting buying the book. Like, at least it's pretty. Like, this cover is gorgeous. It has that going for it. But like, oh man, like, I'm just so disappointed. Like, I was like, oh cool, I'm way into this. Oh no, and this, all my hopes were dashed. So I gave it 2 stars in the end because like it has its moments of like some cool stuff going on, but overall it's just kind of like, why is any of this here? Why is any of this happening? Next category is murder angst, and I read 1 of them. Last up, I read That Weekend by Kara Thomas, and this is a murder mystery. It's technically YA, but like, Kara Thomas like is technically YA, you know what I mean? She's very much a crossover author. I feel like adults could read this and also really like it just because it's so dark. So mainly we're following this girl named Claire, and she has these 2 friends, Kat and Jessie. And Kat and Jessie are dating, but the thing is, like, it's kind of a sore spot maybe for Claire, because I think she's kind of in love with Jessie, but he's dating Kat, and it's like this whole thing. And anyway, their friendship's still going. These are 2 best friends. So they decide like, hey, let's blow off prom. We're gonna go up to this like cabin in the woods for the weekend because, you know, that's a thing to do. Where totally no one ever dies in a cabin in the woods. Nothing good ever happens. And so anyway, you know, the book kind of starts off with Claire like laying in the middle of the woods covered in blood with no memory of the past 3 days. So she's like, where am I? What's happening? I have a head injury. Something has happened because Claire is injured, covered in blood, alone, doesn't know what happened to her friends, and her friends are missing. So things have happened, and she also has amnesia. So she's a bit of an unreliable narrator. So, you know, you're trying to piece together what happened here, what really happened. And so for so long we're with Claire. Eventually we do get another side of the story. There is a perspective switch, and you kind of find out the other side of the story, which honestly, it doesn't work. I don't know. Like, I don't like that all of a sudden, like about 60% of the way through, they just switch perspectives to a new character. I think it would have worked better if it was interspersed the whole way through. Like, I don't know. I get why it's done that way because it's supposed to be like a big reveal, kind of, but I still think it should have been interspersed a bit. Some of the backstory in the other character's perspective needed to happen earlier in the book for this part to hit harder. So there's kind of some structural issues here, but, you know, Kara Thomas writes deliciously angsty books. None of the characters are usually good people. They're all kind of bad people, but to differing degrees. And it's kind of like, how far will you go to get what you want? Or, you know, how much can you actually live with at the end of the day? There's a lot of questions being asked here. Like, I've read all of Kara Thomas's book, and honestly, like, I don't like this one the best, but it is still really good. It's a fun murder mystery. Well, fun is maybe not the right word for murder, but it's like twisty turny. There's a lot of twists in here. You're just like, okay, wait, what? Why? Huh? So your brain just melts at points, and like, I love it. and it's very good. I recommend. I gave it like 4 stars because there is structural problems here that I feel like should have been handled a little differently, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so those are all the books I've read so far this August. Lots and lots of angst. I'm hoping the second half of August is a lot less angsty because it's just, oh my gosh, I can't read more angst. I just want something light and delightful. You know what I mean? It's too much. It's too much angst in my life right now. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you reading anything angsty right now? And if so, what is it? Or what's the last book you read that was angsty? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon.